Hello! Before we get started, I would like to ask one quick question. In one word, how would you define the EU report?
I would say informative.
Good. Okay. What's your name and where are you from?
So my name's Caitlin, and I am from the Bay Area in California.
Okay, the United States. And you're a student, right? So where are you currently studying?
So I study at Tulane University, which is in Louisiana, but currently I'm studying abroad in Barcelona.
Okay, perfect. And what are you currently studying?
I am majoring in political economy and sociology.
Perfect. Why did you decide to join an internship program, and specifically, why did you choose Homeless Entrepreneur?
I wanted to do an internship in Barcelona because I thought it would be a good experience to see how companies or organizations operate in an international perspective. And I wanted to work with Homeless Entrepreneur because I think that your mission and your goals as an organization really line up with my own beliefs.
Okay, perfect. And what beliefs are those?
I think that being from California especially, the government doesn't do as good of a job as I would like to see in approaching homelessness. And so I've really enjoyed being a part of the social policy work with Homeless Entrepreneur and seeing how different governments throughout Europe approach homelessness.
What did homelessness mean to you before starting your internship program with Homeless Entrepreneur?
I think I just saw a lot of homeless people like walking down the street, and I didn't really understand why or how they might end up in that situation, but I think I understand a little bit better now.
Okay, so now that you understand it in a different way and maybe a more complete vision, how has your vision of homelessness evolved during your internship with Homeless Entrepreneur?
I think before I thought that the government needed to do more in like helping homeless people with like shelter, like with food, but I think now I realize like more needs to be done with helping them get back on their feet and like find jobs and like employment.
Perfect. Okay, what project are you working on right now?
Right now I'm working on a project called the EU report, and essentially it is a report which compiles information regarding how 12 different European cities are approaching the issue of homelessness.
And how important is it to have a good strategy to reach your goals as an intern?
I think it's very important because without a strategy, I'm kind of just doing things without like a goal or an end goal.
Floating, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, could you please explain the EU report a little bit more? You have more experience, you've been working on it. Could you explain the project a little bit more, please?
Yeah, so we are, as I said before, compiling information about how 12 different cities and their governments are approaching homelessness. So one like really huge way we've been doing that is by collecting information to give each city a key performance indicator, so a rating out of 100. And it kind of, we get information such as like different data points, like how many homeless people there are, how many organizations there are helping homelessness, how many policies exist regarding the issue of homelessness, GDP, the unemployment rate, stuff like that.
And regarding the cities that you focused on so far, which city do you think is doing the best job addressing homelessness and why?
I think out of the ones that I've looked into, I think London is doing a lot in terms of empowerment-based programs. Like when I was looking into the different organizations that exist, there's like a lot of organizations working with homelessness, and almost like a strong majority of them are empowerment-based, which is nice to see.
And was there anything that surprised you while doing research for the EU report?
I think it was just interesting to see how different cities and different countries approach the issue. Like when I was looking into Paris, I saw that like most of the organizations and most of like the documents that are being put out don't even like say the word homelessness. They just say like, oh, like people who are like struggling, but they don't necessarily say homelessness. So I thought that was like very interesting.
Okay, and regarding building your professional network via LinkedIn, how has that helped you reach your goals in your internship program?
So I like had very little LinkedIn presence before this internship. I had like 10 connections, and now I have over 500. So this internship has really pushed me to like network and like use my resources. So for the EU report, one of the things I've been doing is reaching out to professors and students and experts in different cities and kind of asking them what their perception of homelessness is in their city and how they think their government is approaching the issue. And it's been really interesting to see, because I've been connecting with people all over Europe, how willing people really are to help and help in any way that they can. Like a lot of them are like, oh, thank you so much for reaching out to me. And it's just like not something I had expected, and it's really nice to see that other people see the value in our work too.
So I'll just take 1 second for thanking you for doing all the surveys. You did an excellent job, and it's not easy. And I think you also ran into the challenge of connecting with university professors, which is a little bit more challenging than the students, right? But thank you for that work. What are the challenges and benefits of working on the EU report for you?
For benefits, I think I've just learned a lot about how different governments are approaching homelessness throughout Europe. And I don't know a lot about how governments in the US are, but I probably will want to look into that and like kind of make comparisons and draw comparisons between the situations here and in the US. For challenges, I think it was really hard for me initially to like step out and like connect with people and ask them for help. I don't know, it's just something I've always struggled with, but I think that I've gotten a lot better at it working on the EU report, and yeah.
Well, you've experienced something that every homeless person experiences, which is learning how to ask for help. And it's curious that that's how we help people as well. What are the challenges and benefits of fundraising to end homelessness with Homeless Entrepreneur via the EU report? I know that was a big challenge for you. What do you think the challenges are, the biggest challenge you had? And also, what do you think the benefit of fundraising for this kind of report is?
I think the benefit for it is like obviously like the report requires a lot of funding, like sending you to like 12 different cities, like there's so many like flights, hotels, like there's so much that goes into it. So obviously like fundraising is like a really huge aspect of that. Like we can't do the report without funds. I think I struggled because it was really hard to I had to convince people like the value in the report, and not only convince them the value, but convince them like that they should like support through like funds. Like I think I was able to convince people the value enough to like have them do a survey, but it was harder for me when it was coming to donating actual money.
Do you think that exercise, although it's difficult, has helped you understand the importance of sales and fundraising, commercial activities for an organization to be successful? Do you think you've improved and understand that a little bit more?
Yeah, so like I've worked with a nonprofit before, and I didn't really see the fundraising aspect or how they did it. I just saw the funds roll in, and I never understood like how much goes into actually having people donate and like want to donate like consistently. So that's been really interesting to see.
Excellent. If you could do your internship again, what would you do differently, if anything, and why?
I think that at first I was like very hesitant, as I said, about like fundraising and like asking people for help. And so it took me a little bit longer to like really get into that. So probably just get into it faster so I could have achieved more.
Diving in, no?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's hard because we're afraid of the unknown, but it's great that you've been able to learn so much. And what's your biggest highlight as an intern?
I think it was getting so many like enthusiastic responses regarding interviews and like a survey. Like I remember a lot of people were not only like very enthusiastic to help, but they were referring me to other people they knew, like professors or like friends they had who like knew a lot about homelessness. And it was just really nice to see that everyone was like as enthusiastic about our work as we are.
That's great. And would you recommend Homeless Entrepreneurs Internship Program to other university students? And if so, why?
Yes, I think that I've learned a lot about homelessness throughout Europe, but I've also like improved a lot of my skills, like reaching out to people, my communication skills, and also I've gotten a lot better at like pinpointing like research and like sources and stuff.
Excellent. And what can future interns do to build upon your work for the EU report? Because you've started, you've done a wonderful job, and as you go, we have to pass the torch. So what would you recommend, or what do you think they could do to continue building upon your work?
So I've only really worked through like 4 cities. So obviously the rest of those cities have to be researched as well, and also like keep reaching out to people in those cities for what their input is, because obviously like public perception is like a really big thing, and like they obviously understand what's going on in their city better than we can find just from the internet.
Perfect. And the last thing, I'm going to ask you to look into the camera and request one thing to the current president of the United States. What would you ask him to do differently to address homelessness in the United States, and maybe specifically the Bay Area?
I think that there needs to be more like empowerment-based assistance. Like, I don't completely know all the ins and outs of the issue, but I think that like you can't get a job without an address. And so I think that's like one thing that's like a really big issue, is like how are you supposed to even get a job and like find a place to stay if you can't even get a job in the first place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.